Hello and welcome to another chatty live. If you're joining me live, or maybe you're on replay on YouTube, maybe you're tuning in afterwards on the podcast, wherever you're tuning in from. Hello. I'm so glad you're here and joining me today. My name's Rhiannon Morgan. Everyone calls me Rhi. If you're new around here, then welcome. Or no, if not, welcome back. Today, I'm going through a whole bunch of questions that you guys have sent in on Instagram and DMs and all the places. If you are joining me live, please feel free to drop some questions in the chat. I will get to as many as possible. And yeah, let's just dive in, I guess. I've got some questions I've written down here. A few of you have just started with and how are you doing and are you okay? Yes. And no, let's go physically and emotionally, shall we? Emotionally, it's been a period of ups and downs behind the scenes. Sorry if that's super cryptic, but I think it's just really important to share, even if it's not appropriate to share publicly exactly what's been going on, because let's face it, we've got to have, there's some things that just you can't chat about online. But I think it's important to let people know that just because everything seems, all shiny and lovely on social media, just because people are posting their highlight reels, it doesn't mean they don't have stuff going on. I think this is important to remember when we're going through stuff, and then you look on social media, it's like, oh, everyone else has got this stuff together and everyone else is fine and no one else is going through anything. It's just because they're posting their highlight reel. And I gotta say, I do find social media is quite polarizing in that you either get people that only post their highlight reels or only complain a lot, and that's a whole separate issue. But I just want you to know that if you're going through some stuff, and when you look on social media, everyone else's lives look perfect, it's not the case. So I think it's important to share that just in case anyone needs to hear that. But I also think it's important to share that because we always need to remember that we don't know what is going on in people's lives. So we always need to remember to kind of be kind because we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. And just because someone shows up and is smiling, it doesn't mean they haven't, got a tough time going on. This is something we're kind of trying to teach the children, and hopefully we can continue to teach our children these things and they will grow up in a kinder world. Excuse me, than the world we grew up in. Which brings me to health stuff. Today, this morning, I think it's a migraine. I've taken one of those migraine relief tablets and I feel a lot more human, but my throat is doing that weird, scratchy grossness thing. If anyone has had their tonsils out as an adult, please weigh in. Should I have it done? Because my tonsils are the bane of my flipping life. If I am so much as slightly tired, my tonsils flare up and it's a right pain in the backside, or at least a pain in the throat. And I probably should have had my tonsils out as a kid. Should I do it now so that I am not ill all the flipping time, every time the children have a sniffle? Yeah. So Lucy's just weighing in the comments. Hi, I feel all over the place at the moment. I have a little boy with autism, an elderly father. My has dementia. I'm really stressed. I have 3 kids and can't spread myself too thin. Lucy, I'm sending you a big internet hug, okay? Because yes, the things that people have going on, the things that are thrown at us that we've got to juggle sometimes are too much for us to cope with. And I don't know, where you're at with little boy with autism. I'm assuming since he has autism, you've already gone through the diagnosis process, but still being able to access the right help and support that you need can still be super duper challenging, which I talk about a lot on this channel or on this podcast if you're listening to the podcast. And yeah, I just want to give everyone a big hug that is going through all that and very difficult. I've touch wood. Is there any wood around here? Is this desk made of wood? No, touch wood. We haven't had any dementia to deal with immediately in the family, but I've had so many friends whose parents have been through that, and it is horrific to have to deal with. So big hugs for that. But I think all I can really say to you is something that really sort of helps me is like, this too shall pass, in that obviously autism doesn't pass and dementia doesn't exactly pass. But if I just take the autism as an example, the things that my children struggled with and the phases that we were in, if I think back in the day, the certain rituals we had to do before they'd eat, or the certain rituals that we had to do before they'd sleep no longer exist. I mean, don't get me wrong, they replaced them with new things. It gets a little bit new level, new devil. You're like, whoa, completed that level, we moved on. And then they throw another little thing at you and it changes. Just as, I guess, as soon as you get your baby sleeping through the night, and then suddenly maybe like they're crawling and you're like, now we've got a baby proof. And then you think everything's gonna be fine. You think, they'll be fine when they get to school. And then it's like, now I've got to deal with school drama. And so whatever we're going through now, I think it feels so overwhelming and immersive, but just know that you will get through whatever this is, and life will change and there'll be new challenges, but I'm hoping that's comforting. I'm sorry if it's not. But yeah, in answer to the how are you, I'm all right. I'm pretty good at the moment. I've got a lot going on, which I'll get to actually with another question. There is so much going on. I've got so much extra work-wise going on at the moment because I've got a huge project and I'm so excited to bring it to you guys, honestly. I should have typed it in. I should have done a little graphic, really. I should have been a bit more organized, but like I said, hello migraine. If I'm making any sense at all, I'm doing well, okay? Because my brain is not braining today. It is just so not braining. But I've got a really exciting something that I've got to share with you. And if you go to, if I just type it, can I type it in here? If you go to Rhiannon Morgan .com/waitlist. Whoops. You can, hopefully that's, yeah. There we go, rhiannonmorgan.com/waitlist. I've popped that in the chat. Then if you go to that website address, then you can pop your name in there and you will be the first to be able to access something very exciting. I'm working so hard on this. We'll get through some more questions and then we'll come back to explaining what all that's about. Anyway, how are you doing on ADHD medication now? It's been a while, or have you stopped? Yes, it has been a while. Has it been a year? I probably should have done a video, shouldn't I? Being like, it's been a year. Here's my experience. And maybe I will do an in-depth video on that. But yes, all in all, I am still taking it. Excuse me. Like I said, throat. I'm still taking the ADHD medication, and I would say it has a positive impact on my life. So just in brief, I have made an in-depth video. I think I did a 7 days on ADHD medication and a first 30 days of ADHD medication. They're on the channel if you want to go back and look at those, so that you can just learn about exactly what was happening at the time. And I documented that stuff so that I could, look at it in real time. And actually, if I'm going to film where I am a year or 18 months or however long it is, because I should have filmed the video, I should have been like, it's been a year exactly to the day. And, I didn't do that. But I would have to go back and watch that video to see how I felt at the beginning. I'm glad that I documented that at the time. And that's something that I would say to anyone that's thinking of starting any form of medication. But go back, don't go back, but as you're taking any medication, document how you're feeling before you take it, when you're taking it, and, just, it doesn't have to be detailed, but I think you forget. And this is the case for pretty much anything. I think it's hard to remember the exact details as you go along. And this is the case for, when you get your kids assessed for autism, or you get your kids assessed for ADHD, which again, we're going to talk to. We've got some questions about that. I've got some stuff to say about that because we've got some more stuff going on with that. But if you have a look at just jotting down how you're feeling, any symptoms and things, it's worth doing because you will not remember the details. So how I'm going with it at the moment, I started it purely because the doctor very much felt when I was diagnosed with ADHD, it was the next step. And I did not go through the diagnosis and assessment process because I wanted to be medicated at all. But then I thought to myself, why wouldn't I do this? Or why would I at least try this? Why wouldn't I be open to trying it? Because I've always thought, if you take antidepressants as an example, people are really like, oh, no, I don't want to be medicated. But then, I've got a friend who's diabetic, and if she was like, oh, no, I don't want that insulin, I don't want to put that in my body, she'd die, or she'd at least be so freaking unwell. I don't know, she would not do very well. And I know that other, ADHD medication is obviously, it's not saving my life, but if it's going to improve the quality of my life massively, or if I needed, if I was anemic, I needed to take iron, I probably wouldn't die from not taking that, but the quality of my life could be significantly improved. Now, obviously, if you take a certain drug and it has negative side effects, then that's got to be kept in mind too. But I guess what I'm coming at, the reason I'm sort of discussing this before we go into how I'm doing with it, is if you are really close-minded to, no, I don't want to do that, I don't want to put that in my body, to anything that is not a physical ailment. So obviously, if you have diabetes, then everyone finds that really easy to understand, and like you need that in order to live. It's a health condition. But I think people have this really negative opinion of any, I guess, invisible illnesses, conditions, really negative view of antidepressants or ADHD medication or whatever it might be. And I've always thought this was really unhealthy, because I've always really hoped that we could turn this world, we could sort of change the narrative so that when our children grow up, as our children are growing up, they see mental health and physical health as one and the same thing. They see mental health as just important as physical health, because honestly, it is. Because if you are physically healthy, but you're mentally really struggling, what good is that? I mean, just as you've got to look after your physical health, because, you need both. They're part and parcel, and they're both one as important as the other. So I want my children to grow up in a world that if they need to access help for their mental health or for their physical health, they're able to do that, that they're able to access that there is no shame in that. And it's just normal. It's just like, I've broken my leg, I'm going to get, it put in plaster or whatever. I'm struggling with my mental health, I'm going to see a mental health professional. I'll try some options. So I thought, well, actually, if I'm not going to be willing to try something that will help me, then isn't that a really negative mindset? And it's along the lines of being like, oh, no, I'll just manage my depression on my own if I was depressed. So I thought, well, I may as well give it a go. And obviously, like any medication, and this goes for medications that deal with mental health issues, physical health issues, the pros have to outweigh the cons. And with ADHD medication, it is very carefully regulated. So they check your weight, and they check your blood pressure and everything. Excuse me, that's my stomach rumbling. Sorry. I hope you can't hear that. Clearly I'm hungry. So they monitor your health to make sure that it's going to be okay for you. It's not going to give you any problems. And it was one of those things that I thought, well, I'll try it. And if it's doing me more harm than good, I'll stop. And if it's doing me more good than harm, I'll keep going with it. And really, shouldn't that be the case with everything? If you have any form of medication, there are going to be some negative side effects. I mean, even the contraceptive pill, there are some horrific side effects that people can have with that. I was on it before. I haven't been on for quite some time, obviously, because my husband didn't. Slight side quest story now. He, after baby number 3, I suggested maybe he wanted to go and have the snip. Now, he didn't think that, to be fair, I could get pregnant without fertility treatment, because I have fertility treatment with the others. But infertility is not contraception. So he did not fancy having his bits fiddled with, as he put it. Apologies if you've got little ones listening. I'm trying to keep it as clean and, as maybe listen to this podcast in the car. I'll try and keep it so that they don't understand what I'm on about. But he said in front of the GP, he wasn't sure if he was done having children. He knew if he said that, then he wouldn't ever be considered for a vasectomy. And he thought he was right smarty pants for saying that. After that, we had our miracle baby, our angel surprise, Zara, who is wonderful, but nothing to do with Zara herself. But we had such a heck of a time when I was having Zara, and then I had sepsis, and then she was hospitalised with chicken pox when she was a couple of weeks old, and then the kids had chicken pox while I was in hospital, so he had to take care of them on his own for the first time ever. I don't think he changed a nappy before that, and suddenly he was like right in the deep end. Anyway, after that, he took himself for a vasectomy. So that's why I haven't had to be on the contraceptive pill for a very long time. Apologies for that side quest story. Clearly, the ADHD medication doesn't get rid of all of my ADHD. But long story short, the contraceptive pill can have horrific side effects, but then obviously it can have the side effect of you not having a baby if you don't want one. So it's being on the right medication. It's being open to tweaking things. And so far, it's had nothing but positive side effects for me. So for me, taking ADHD medication feels like being highly caffeinated. Now, apparently, caffeine has a different impact on people with ADHD than people without it, in that caffeine doesn't make me bounce off the walls. It makes me more focused. So if I'm very caffeinated, if I have loads and loads of caffeine and I'm working, it makes me kind of zone in a bit more. It makes me a bit more tunnel vision. And that's what the ADHD medication does for me. Obviously, I'm not a doctor. I can't tell you what to take. And obviously, you need a prescription anyway. So if you think you have ADHD, or if you you have ADHD, you think about medication, then please obviously speak to your own doctor, which obviously in the UK is not easy to do. I do have a free resource because I can see some ADHD questions coming up in the comments. I'm trying to see if I can find hang on. If you go to, is this the right one? If I press this? If I press this for that, there we go. Oh, there we go. I've a little graphic. Sorry if you're listening on the podcast, you can't see it, but a nice little graphic has come up on the screen now that says 100 signs of ADHD in women. If you go to mummyof4.com/100 ADHD, then you can download that for free. And that is, again, not a medical document, but it is kind of based on a medical document. It's based on the stuff they ask you inside of the ADHD assessment. So if you go to that website address, mummyof4.com/100 ADHD, then you can download that PDF. And it's more like a pre should I go to the doctor's thing. And if you answer on there, it'll give you an idea of the sort of things that the doctors will ask you, because I know I found it quite intimidating when I first went to the doctors to talk about ADHD. I thought they were going to quiz me. I felt really like was I going to be put on the spot? As it happens, they were just very much like, fill in this form, bring it back. If you tick the right boxes, we'll send you for an assessment. If you don't, we won't. And I said the most ADHD thing ever, which is, can I have a pen? Because you've got two choices. You can have this now or never. Because if I take this away, you're never going to see it again. Okay? Never. So I was quite glad to be armed with the information because I'd done a lot of research. So this will not tell you if you have ADHD or not. Obviously, only an assessment can do that, but it will give you an idea of the things to look out for and the things to talk to your doctor about. Because until I learned about this stuff, and the reason it's 100 signs of ADHD in women is that the signs in women seem to be totally different to what we think of as ADHD, what's been traditionally portrayed in the media. So that's why it's important to kind of educate yourself about the differences between ADHD in men and in women, or in girls and boys, and not to say that you can't have little boys who just, before anyone jumps down my neck, because, it's the internet and people like to do that. Obviously, you can have boys that display the traits that are traditionally seen in girls and vice versa. But you do tend to see that girls are not picked up as much for autism or ADHD because they're not bouncing off the walls. They're not being disruptive in class. They are often seen as good girls, and they often do very well in things because they hyper-focus and cram things in at the last minute, much like I did. Okay, let's go to some of the comments that have been popped in the chat, and then we'll get into some more of the questions that have been already sent in advance. Okay, Lucy says, yeah, her son has been diagnosed non-verbal, and thank you for support and hugs. Anytime, my darling. And she agrees that, yes, needs with autism are forever changing. Any side effects of my ADHD medication? It does make I'm a little aware about 30 minutes after taking it that my heart is beating a little bit faster. That's probably about it. It does make me sometimes not totally forget to eat, but it does suppress some of the food noise. So slight trigger warning here, going to talk about a little bit of not an eating disorder, but slightly disordered eating. I think having grown up, born in the 80s, child of the 90s, with some slightly mixed messaging, that's an understatement, around food, as in be super skinny, uh, models like coat hangers, moment on the lips, lifetime on the hips, all this business, all this very negative messaging, but also clear your whole plate. If you're sad, put food on top of it. Very confusing mixed messaging. And we're trying to kind of rework that, not pass any of that onto our kids. I could talk about that. Food messaging for kids, especially kids with autism and, all the complexities to go with that. That's a chat for another day. Let me know if you want me to do that chat. But where was I even going with this? The side quest ADHD brain. Oh yeah, side effects. The food noise is something that apparently not everybody has, but it's that thing whenever I'm bored or tired or hungry or anything that I'm like, food, food. And I know I can get in some really unhealthy cycles when I'm stressed, when I'm run down, when I'm not prioritizing self-care, of really comfort eating massively, to the point where I'm not hungry, because if you're hungry, you should absolutely eat. But I'm not eating because I'm hungry. In fact, I'm full and I'm still eating. So it does suppress a lot of that. Because it suppresses the urge to go and do other things other than the thing I'm supposed to be doing. So the side quests are suppressed, which is not a side effect as such. It's sort of what it's supposed to do. But I suppose a side effect of that is it suppresses the food noise, which is, I guess, not its necessarily intended effect, but is positive. So, I mean, my stomach is rumbling and I'm actively making sure I still eat, but I don't necessarily feel, it's not that I'm not hungry, but I don't get the food noise. So I don't feel the need to eat, as in snack, unnecessarily, which is probably positive, because if I'm hungry, I should be eating, but I shouldn't be eating because I'm sad or bored or tired. That's not what food's for. We should be eating when our bodies need it because we're hungry. So yeah, that's one of the side effects, I guess. Sparkly Kib says, hi there, thank you for your videos. They've helped me organize myself and my neurosparkly. Sorry, I've stolen that term so much better. Family. Oh, I love neurosparkly. I hope people know what I'm on about. I actually saw it. I literally didn't make it up. A friend of mine said that her daughter with autism um, fancied these socks that said Neurosparkly on them, but the irony of it is they looked really itchy, which would be no good for someone with autism, which I thought was brilliant. But yes, I saw it on a pair of socks. But I've totally embodied that. I think Neurospicy is cute. Neurosparkly is better, because as you can see, I love all things pink. I can't actually show you my computer because I'm running this live off it, but that's pink. I'm super duper pink and sparkly for all the things. So yeah, Neurosparkly is the best, isn't it? It's the best. Katie says, I absolutely love your channel and your children are so funny. Oh, thank you. I'm also excited to see them on the videos. I love your Disney cruise vlogs. I got a cold, so I'm off from college feeling ill. Wow, Katie, well done for self-care, because taking time off to heal is really positive. And this is actually something I struggle with massively. And I don't know whether this comes from having undiagnosed ADHD for so long and feeling like it's taken me such a long time to get my life together and such a long time to figure out the basics of just how to adult the way that everyone else seems to know. Well, clearly not everyone else, because there's a lot of people that follow me and struggle with it too, but I'd look at other people and be like, how come you've just got your stuff together and it doesn't feel like such a struggle? And I think I'm scared if I stop, then all that will come back, which on a sensible level, I know won't. But I'm sort of scared to stop because of that, because of the backlog, because of the build-up that will be caused, and because I'm scared that if I stop, then I won't be able to start back up again, which is madness. It's a limiting belief I need to get past, because that's one of the reasons I struggle to stop when I'm ill. And I don't know if it's a little bit from like dancing and the kind of show must go on mentality growing up, but I think it's taken me until maybe this year and a fair amount of therapy to, when I am feeling unwell, not immediately go to being irritated with myself and, right, how do I say drug myself, that sounds really bad, but day nurse and caffeine push through, and then night nurse to knock yourself out, and just ignore what your body is feeling, suppress that and keep going. And it's only now that I'm like trying to think, well, okay, rest is productive. If my body is feeling like today, for example, I would normally come downstairs and go on my walking pad. And before I took a migraine tablet this morning, I was feeling so rough. Honestly, if I'd stood on that walking pad, I would have just fallen off it. But traditionally, I would have just been like, right, caffeine, get on with it, push through. Don't be, I would have had a really horrible chat with myself actually and been really mean to myself, I suppose, and being like, pull yourself together and get on with it. And that's so unhealthy. Okay. That is so unhealthy. So if you're able to stop and rest when you are ill, if your body is telling you to rest, that's what you should be doing because rest is therefore productive. And I'm saying this to you because I'm sort of trying to convince myself as well. But Katie, you are doing the right thing in resting when you are ill because that is ultimately what I want my children to do if they're ill. I want them to be kind to themselves, and I can't expect them to grow up and do that if I can't model it. So, Katie, well done. I'm going to try and do as well as you. Lucy says, I will check that out. Thanks. Okay. Sparky Kid says, I have a son who's just started secondary, ASD, ADHD, dyslexia, and dyspraxia diagnosed. I've got to say, the only one of those I don't know a lot about is dyspraxia. Don't know a lot about that. I need to educate myself about that one because I know it's all similar kind of family stuff, but I don't know a great deal about it. Any advice to help him settle? He's hating secondary so far. Oh, big hugs. We've used lots of your strategies. Okay, so when your kids initially start secondary school, so I'm assuming you're in the UK and he literally just started in September, and we're on, if you're watching this live, it's the 30th of September today. So it is still super early days. It is such a big adjustment for kids starting secondary school because they go from being the big fish in the small pond in year 6, and then suddenly they're in a big school. They've got 30 kids in their class. Maybe there are 8 classes, maybe there are 12 classes, depending on how big the school is. Excuse me, sorry, I've got really itchy nose. It's really putting me off. But it can be a big adjustment. Now, one thing I will say is whoever they're hanging out with now, whoever your child's hanging out with now in secondary school, and however they're doing, this is not a reflection of how all of secondary school is going to be. It sometimes takes kids a little while to find their groove and to find their people. What I would say is encourage to talk to new people, encourage your child to talk to new people, perhaps join clubs, because there are so many people. And I think the benefit of a bigger school, because again, I was talking to a friend of mine about this, about she's thinking about sending her child who she thinks may have ADHD to a very, very small secondary school or a bigger school. And obviously the downside of the bigger schools, you're worried your child's going to get lost in things. But the more children there are to choose from, the more chance there is of finding your people, your tribe. So what I would say is to your child that there's, I don't know how many children there are in their year, 200, 300 maybe, chances are if it's a secondary school. Some of those people will be your people. It's just you haven't necessarily found them yet. And in year 7, they don't necessarily mix them a lot with other classes. So often in year 7, they'll just be in one form. So if they haven't got like their people, their true people in that 30 people, they won't necessarily have found them yet. However, I would say if there's any chance you can persuade them to join any clubs, maybe there's a chess club or a computer club or a drama club or anything where you can meet other kids in the year or even in different years within the school, there's more chance of being able to find your people. And I'm thrilled to say that Will, who is my baby number 2, I say baby, he's literally 2-3 inches taller than me now. He's in year 9 and he's found his people, his little gang. They're all so similar. They're lovely. And those are not the people he was hanging around with the first few weeks. I mean, he was lucky. He went to secondary school with a couple of little friends from primary. So he didn't really struggle massively with the transition. But the people he's sort of ended up really vibing with and really sticking with and really being his gang are not the ones that he was necessarily, hanging out with on the 30th of September in that first term. So it's definitely beneficial to try and meet other kids. And then if there is someone that they sort of strike up a friendship with, to really nurture that friendship, invite them over the house, and try and strengthen that bond. And if your kid has autism or ADHD, the other thing, which again I haven't talked about a lot before, but would perhaps be valuable to talk about in more depth, but to remind them to do things like communicate. And I know we're trying to get kids off phones and things, but trying to remind your kid to actually get someone's phone number, not so that they can be on their phone all the time, but just so they can arrange to meet them and actually strike up a friendship with them. These things that we think might be common sense aren't necessarily to kids with ADHD. So it's encouraging your child to make friends and actually nurture those friendships and talk them through the basics of, exchanging numbers, staying in touch with someone so that you can maybe initially just ask about homework or something, but then maybe hang out together, whatever, after school. So yes. Katie says, how are the children enjoying and how they enjoy school? Yes, so just touched on Will. He's absolutely loving school. Bella is in her transition year to secondary school, which is blowing my tiny little mind. She's in her leavers jumpers. Again, she's super duper tall. So it's an exciting year for her and a bit of an emotional one for me. I honestly thought that as my kids got older and we'd been through this a few times, I thought we'd get less emotional. And it doesn't really. I thought like baby number one, leaving a school or starting a school would feel even emotional. And then I thought the middly ones, I'd be like, nah, I know what I'm doing. It's all good. And it is easier when you know what you're doing. It is easier to, obviously Bella's going to be going to the same school as William. So I already know like the lay of the land there and how it works and everything. So that as a mum is easier for me. And it's easier for Bella because she's been to the school with me to see William shows and things. So that's nice. But it's still quite emotional. And that being quite emotional doesn't really change. And little Zara is my biggest worrier probably of the four. So she's had some ups and downs so far, but is currently quite happy in school. And in fact, I have got a question about ADHD assessment for her, which I will come back to in a second once I've gotten through some more of these in the comments for the lovely people joining me live. Robin says, hi, Ree, I have suspected ASD and severe anxiety. I work part-time. On the days I work, I come home feeling so overstimulated and nauseous. That's awful. I'm so sorry. Any advice for calming down over a lot of overstimulation? Yes. Okay. I've actually done a video, one that's already on my channel called the firefighter technique, which is more for helping other people through meltdowns, but is worth a look because ultimately when we're adults, and I'm assuming, Robin, if you are working, then you're an adult. So you're not necessarily at home with parents, that you've got them to help you through this. I don't know, maybe you are. If you are at home with parents and you can enlist them to help you with any of this stuff, then get them to watch the video too. But as we get to be adults, we have to parent ourselves. So any of the stuff that I say about helping our kids with autism, I think we need to listen to, and then we need to think about parenting ourselves because ultimately we're just little kids running around adults' bodies, aren't we? And I also filmed a video and I'm editing it and it's coming out very, very soon about a whole different range of tips and techniques for helping and the video is called helping children regulate meltdowns, but ultimately these are all strategies that can be used to help our kids, to teach our kids to use themselves, and for us to use ourselves. And they're all the different strategies that we use at home. So like I said, there's a whole video about that is coming very soon, but it's things like Robin, just very quickly, just before you get to watch that video, if you look up EFT, emotional freedom technique, there are so many videos on that on YouTube. There's entire channels about that. So in that video, I talk about it briefly, but then I can refer you to just go and speak to an EFT practitioner, or just not even speak to a practitioner, just watch. There's some really good YouTube channels that are just about EFT. So that's emotional freedom technique. Check that out. I would say just get changed out of the clothes from work that you're like, ew, I'm taking off this mood, I'm taking off this mode, I'm taking off this yucky feeling, and I'm putting on something comfortable. And in fact, I've just realized I've got something else for you. Hang on. This is, hang on. Apologies, guys. Loud noises. This is the emotional guidance scale. Now this I did not make this up. This is a thing. This is a thing that has been talked about in books many, many times over. But I created a printable for this. There is a kids version as well, which I think is underneath. Underneath, yes. So there's a simplified version for children. And the simplified version for children is about zones of regulation. And they're using this in our children's school at the moment for how you're feeling now and how do you want to feel. And the idea is with kids that you try and get back to the green zone. So we've got the green zone of feeling happy, calm, focused, ready to work. Yellow zone, worried, silly, silly, excited, frustrated, anxious, nervous. Red zone is angry, out of control, explosive, unsafe, panicked, and blue zone is sad, tired, sick. So those are the simplified versions for kids. But the apologies again if you're on the podcast. But if you go to that thing I put in the chat, the waitlist thing. So it's rhiannonmorgan.com/waitlist. And I know I'm going to talk to you about this in a second, guys. And I really need your opinion, actually. So go to that in the chat, but I need to figure out if I've done the right thing by choosing this website address with my own name, because I'm not sure if anyone's going to be able to spell it. Anyway, click the link in the chat. But this is the emotional guidance scale. And what you need to think, Robin, when you are coming home from work and you're feeling overstimulated, where are you on this emotional guidance scale? So are you, and again, apologies if you're listening, not watching, but if you're identifying where you're feeling in this, are you feeling just overwhelmed, you feeling disappointed, and then it goes down to doubt, worry, blame, discouragement, anger, it goes down to the horrible things. And then above overwhelm is frustration, pessimism, it goes up to boredom, contentment, hopefulness, optimism, and then positive expectation and belief, enthusiasm, eagerness and happiness, passion, and then at the top to joy, appreciation, empowerment and love. Now I think what we need to remember, and I try and remember this with my kids, and I try and remember this with myself, is we can't go for, if Robin, you're coming home feeling and you're on overwhelm, you can't expect to jump straight to the top to joy, because that is an unrealistic expectation. I think what you need to think is, what can I do to just move one rung up the ladder? What can I do? What small things I can do to just make myself feel a little bit better? What's the next best emotion I can reach out for from here, rather than think, oh my gosh, I can never get to feel super happy, because that's unrealistic if you're feeling that overwhelmed. But if you can just think, right, what's the next best emotion I can reach for? What's the next best thing I can reach for? What can I feel grateful for in this situation? So maybe I've had a really rough day, but at least I'm coming home. My heating is working, my lights are all working, I can feel cozy, my shift is over. What are the positive things you can write down that you are grateful for? And that's just a really good way to shift your feelings, your energy, to reach for that next best emotion. Okay, Lucy says, I know I'm not normal. Normal's a funny word, isn't it? But the generation that didn't get picked up, I'm 38. Yes. As in, are we talking about the generation that didn't get picked up with being diagnosed for anything at all? Yeah, pretty much. I think it's only now, and so many people are like, why is autism going up so much? I'm sorry, I know so many people that are clearly autistic that are not diagnosed, that are a lot older than me. Autism has been around a long time. And I think we can all, especially when you get a child diagnosed and you start to learn about it, you look around your own friends and family, you're like, oh, I see it now. And it's like you're in the Matrix and you took the whichever pill makes you see everything. And you're like, how could I not see this before? It feels so obvious now. But yes, I don't think much at all got picked up before now. Lucy says her partner's had the snip too. Okay. Katie says, hi, Reeve. I have potentially ASD. I'm not sure on the waiting list. I'm going on holiday in October and I'm going on a plane. I find that stressful. Okay. So the waiting list for autism, I think that's largely going to depend on where you live in the country. I think it's done on a medical trust by trust thing. I know my sister, I hope she doesn't mind me saying, has been on the waiting list for an ADHD assessment, but she's moved twice or three times across the country for work. And just as she sort of got to the top of the list, she moved, and then she had to start the waiting list again in another trust because it wasn't consistent across the country, which is really frustrating. So that is going to depend. You're going to have to speak to your own doctors. the GP will just refer you on, and then there'll be a waiting list. But you really do have to advocate for yourself, because I know lots of the GPs, and that's again something else perhaps I need to talk about. But I know another adult in my life specifically who's been to the doctor recently to ask about this stuff, and has been really fobbed off, and it's made me really very cross. Going on a plane, finding things stressful. My suggestion would just be get one of those sunflower lanyards, so that people in the airport know that you have an invisible disability that you need some help with, and just speak to the cabin crew. Make really good friends with them. Take them little pixie dust bags. We were on a Virgin Atlantic flight over to America last year. We were in cattle class. We were right at the back of the plane. And they were so lovely, because we made an effort to just at the beginning of the flight said, look, I might need some extra help. My children are, they have these additional needs or whatever. But I got chatting to them, and they were just so lovely with the children. They were so lovely with us. We had a lovely old chat. The children had made bracelets for the people in Disney, like the cast members and stuff in Disney. So they gave some to people on the plane with little pixie dust bags of sweets and things. And they were so lovely, and they were like, oh, it's been such a lovely flight to have you on board. Now, someone else messaged me afterwards saying that they were on the same flight and they didn't have any help, and their child was struggling, and they felt it was clear their child was struggling and no one intervened. But it's very difficult, I would imagine, from an outsider's point of view, to be like, hello, it appears you need help here. Can I offer you some assistance? When actually that could be seen as offensive. Whereas if you say, I might need some help in advance, and then you need help, they're obviously going to be keeping an eye on out to be able to help you, which is what happened with us. So I would just say that if you advocate for yourself the same way as I would have to advocate for my children, and be like, look, I'm really stressed about this. I'm really worried. Is there any support you can offer me? They'll be amazing, and they'll just, they'll be used to people who are nervous flying, and they'll be able to offer you that support. Kate says, I had the same with autism. Recently was given a link to fill out the form online. Yes, it is annoying that when you go to the doctors saying, I need help with something like ADHD or autism, which, along with all that kind of type of condition, a lot of people with those conditions struggle with things like organisation and filling in forms, to be like, go away and fill out a form. I find that a little bit almost like, it's not very inclusive, is it? It's not very supportive. Casey says, hi, Ree, I have potentially ASD. Oh, hang on, we read that one. Okay, Carrie says, my husband and myself and our two girls are all on the pathway for an ADHD diagnosis. Battling my way through all the forms is so overwhelming. My boy's nursery teacher said he needs assessing too. He's only 2, but his symptoms are more obvious than the girls. This is a tale as old as time, Carrie. The tale as old as time. Unfortunately, he can't be assessed for ADHD until 7. Okay, interesting. That is information I did not know, because my children, I didn't even know much about ADHD until I was assessed and diagnosed. And it's only since then I've been learning. And then, like, one of my girls specifically is going through that at the moment, which I shall talk about in a second. I will have to get off these chatty comments and get back to the ones that the questions have been sent in a second. It is incredibly difficult. I think this is why I've put together my autism journey journal, because it gives the prompts and gives one place to keep all of the stuff. And I'm in the process of developing. It's not finished yet, but it is coming. This, which is my ADHD journey journal, okay? And this is going to be the ADHD equivalent of the autism one. If you put your name on that wait list, then you'll be in my email club. You will be the first to hear about it when that goes live. But basically, that is going to be something, and I'm creating that because I need it myself, okay? I'm creating that for myself as much as for you guys. And that is one central place to keep all of the information that you need, because sometimes it's so hard to remember that you need to write things down, you need to keep records. If you've got one central hub for all that, because one of the things I found so hard when my kids were being diagnosed with autism, or they were going through the assessment process, is you'd see someone, and then a year later you'd see the next person, and they'd be picking up where you left off because they've got the notes in front of them, and you'd be like, oh my gosh, what did we say then? And what was I supposed to prepare for that? And it just felt like, because it was so drawn out, you just couldn't remember what was supposed to be happening next. So by having one central place and one central hub to keep everything, and I keep everything now. I have the bigger versions of this as well, but I keep everything inside of my mini Organized Life binder, which is here. So you can print that out. I've also, because one of the other questions has been, how do you print in A5 for that folder? And if you go to, hopefully I've got one of these on here, a little, no, I haven't. That's super helpful, isn't it? If you go to mummyof4.com/binder, that should do it. mummyof4.com/binder. That should tell you there how to print everything out in A5. I know that under the new system that I'm in the process of setting up, that's going to send that out very, very soon. So either way, just pop your email in there and you'll have all that information. But basically, the ADHD Journey Journal is coming. The information on how to print in A5. There's also a video on my channel about how to set up one of these little binders. And you can just set that up with whatever you've got in the house. Like printing wise, there's a way to print using A4 paper, and I show you step by step how to print in A5, like on A5 paper, which I thought was really, really hard to do. It's so easy. So I've shown you how to do that on the video. You just have to look on this channel. It's just a few videos back, or go to that link, because that shows you how to print everything in A5. But basically what I would do is, I mean, you can just print in A4 to be honest, but the A5 is just so much more portable, is just have one place. It could be a notebook, it could be anything, but if you've got a binder you can actually stick things into and you can print things out onto, it's just so much more flexible. But just have one folder, it could be a popper folder, anywhere, just keep everything in one place, all of the notes, and then for any things you need to note down about ADHD, about symptoms and things, just keep one note in your phone. And it's just, if there's one place to put everything, then that's just going to be so much easier. Okay, I'm going to get through a couple of these now. Are your girls being assessed for ADHD? So I've done screening questions for my entire family for both autism and ADHD. So obviously, the 4 kids have been diagnosed with autism. I interestingly did the autism, like an online, like a pre-screening thing for the boys, who both came out as, yes, probably autism. Turns out they do. Did that for my husband, and he's like, yes, you definitely need to see someone on that screening. I came out as nowhere near autism, and again, I was screened when I had the ADHD assessment. From an ADHD point of view, I would say eldest baby, who's now 21, needs to be assessed for ADHD. So I need to get him home and see the GP and take him to sort that out. That's something he's not feeling is super urgent, but he's got so much value from being able to understand his own brain from the autism assessment. He is, that's something we kind of need to pursue. William and Bella do not show signs of ADHD that I can tell. I have no concerns there with regards to ADHD. Zara, yes. The more I learn about girls and ADHD, Zara, I mean, you can't say without an assessment, but Zara really needs to be assessed. And this is not something, because initially the school were like, oh, well, she's got support for autism. What difference does it make? And I really disagree with that, because first of all, you need to be able to understand your exact brain and actually how your brain works, and to really know what you're actually dealing with. And just being like, oh, she's got help, so that'll just be a catch-all, is a bit of a cop-out. Secondly, she does not, I feel, need medication now, but one thing I have noticed is how much children change, especially with neurodiversity and needs and things. So if she has ADHD, that's not going to go away, but will it get to the stage where maybe she needs medication by the time she gets to do exams and things? I don't know, because I can't predict that. But one thing I do know is if I decide when she's due to do her exams to be like, well, let's get her assessed now then, she's not going to be assessed for years and years. So she needs to be assessed now, so that if she needs a diagnosis, she can have one. And that way, if she needs medication, she can have it when she needs it, and not be like, wait till we get to crisis stage before we get to that stage. So she is on the pathway, but it's not being dealt with as smoothly as I would like. So I think that is a chat for another day. But yes, I'm on the case. I'm going to, like I say, the ADHD Journey Journal is a bit of priority for me, as much as it is for lots of you guys now. So I am putting that together very soon. And as I put that together, I'll talk to you guys about it more. Okay, do the children still do karate and dance? Yes, they do. Loving both. There you go. It's a nice quick answer. Do you ever do abroad non-theme park holidays? Would you try all inclusive? We have done non-theme park abroad holidays before. Yes, at the moment, whenever I ask the children, they're like, "Oh, we just want to do theme parks." And to be honest, as long as they want to do the magic, then I am here for it. I'm 100%, um, like the girls did Royal Court Royal Tea and they've done the Bibbidi Body Boutique and all these things that actually they won't be allowed to do. Even if they want to go to Disney when they're older, they won't be allowed to do those things. So I want to do those experiences as much as possible. Honestly, I don't know what relaxing looks like, and my holidays are all kind of a bit hybridy, aren't they? And I film a lot on them, so I don't really relax on holidays. So in theory, yes, we would do that, but at the moment, every time the children are asked what they want to do, and ultimately their family holidays, I want to know what the kids want to do, then that's what they want to do. So do you still use your Disney Facebook page, the one that mentions Disney, not the new name? Yeah, Facebook, I'm really like I started years ago using Facebook more than anything. And now, honestly, things get posted to Instagram, they kind of get copied to Facebook. I suppose I just need to go back and change it. I've got a page called Mummy of Four Does Disney because that was originally the name of my Disney channel. And now it's Magical Adventures with Three, Mummy of Four, or whatever. It's very long winded. Because we're doing non-Disney travel as well over there. So I had to change it a little bit. Any Disney trips coming up? I miss your Disney vlogs. Well, you don't need to miss my Disney vlogs because every Saturday at 8 a.m. they're over there on my Disney channel or my Magical Adventure channel, whatever I'm calling it now. I've got a Disney Cruise vlog series and I have got something booked, but you'll have to watch this space, okay? How do people manage to go to Florida every year? Well, we don't manage to go every year. We'd love to. Florida is expensive. I think there's got to be a way to get cheaper flights. I think people are better with flights. I think that flights have always cost us such a large chunk of the holiday. So if anyone's got any genius ideas about that, perhaps I need to get like an Amex card and get like air miles, if I get some air miles going or something. But ultimately, you're also looking at people, just in different situations. Maybe they have flight points, maybe they have, both of them have very high paying jobs. We don't know. It's obviously, if you've not got children or if you've got fewer children, that's going to be a lot easier. But I would love to know how we get to Florida more as well. And that's definitely something we're working on. Any advice on Wales IDPs? Again, this is something I could talk at length, but I think in brief, if you're pursuing any kind of assessment diagnosis, just keep notes, keep notes, keep notes, and stay on top of it. Keep nagging, be polite, but be persistent and just keep nagging, keep nagging, keep nagging, because unfortunately it's the squeaky wheel that gets oiled. Can we have grocery hauls back, please? Oh, unfortunately, no. I think I've moved away from, I was doing grocery hauls because it was just at that stage of throwing spaghetti at the wall and people seemed to like them and that was great, but I just realized they were really repetitive. I was only ever buying different things because I was feeling guilty that I wasn't creating interesting enough content, but ultimately I have a family full of kids with autism that eat the same food. So it's going to be the same video most weeks. And I could hear myself in my voice being like, oh my gosh, this is so repetitive. People are going to hate this. This isn't helping anyone. This isn't valuable. And I just thought I want to do something that is more helpful. So the grocery hauls, they did well and got reviews and all that business, but I didn't feel that it was helpful enough. And I felt kind of impostery about doing it, I suppose. So I have stopped doing those to focus on helping neurosparkly families like mine, really. So no, unfortunately, I won't be doing those. I've got a question about the big thing that's coming up, so I will come back to that in a second. We'll just go over here to the questions in the chat. Just have a very little drink because my throat's killing me. Okay. Louise says, hi, Ree. Me and my family are all neurodiverse and have been hoping to go on a Disney cruise, but we heard you have to share a dining table with strangers, which is a big no-no. Will they make adjustments? 1,000,000%. So I always get in touch with Disney Cruise Line beforehand and ask them not to put us on a table with strangers because my kids would totally spin out. Also, because I'm filming, I think it would perhaps be a bit intrusive to other families. So you can just make a request and just say, we don't want to put on a table with other families. Apparently on Disney Cruise Line, people, make amazing friends doing that. But I get you, it's not for us either. My kids would not enjoy that. So no, it's easy. You just literally book it and then you message them or you ring them up and they're like, no problem, no worries. It's just so easy going. Robin says, thanks. I find that I feel dissociated and dizzy in the evening a lot. So those resources will be super helpful, reminding me that it's from panic and overstimulation. Maybe stop me from spiraling. Absolutely. Leah said she completely forgot about life. been sitting here watching your Legoland Windsor vlog, and all of the little kiddos look so tiny. Yeah, so over on my travel channel, I just posted last night, like I think someone in my membership came up with it, Memory Monday. I think that's genius. So it's like a mega vlog that I put on my travel channel about when the kids were tiny, and it's a really long, so it's a couple of vlogs like string together from when they were really small, and that's in preparation because next week my Legoland, like my new Legoland vlogs start, and I just wanted to share the retro vlogs first. Lee also says, I also want to say thank you for the advice you gave me about going from 2 children to 3, because a few months ago, baby boy's now here, 2 months old, and the other 2 have adjusted so well. Amazing. I mean, I can't remember what I said to you, Lee, about that, but hopefully I'm glad it was helpful. Cinda says, hello, Ree. Hello. Thank you, Ree. I'll do this. My husband just got me a mini binder for my birthday. I'm going to get some for my kids too. Yes, they're amazing. Mini binders are so good because it's like I've used my big binder as my organized life binder to keep everything together for a long time, but I found that it just wasn't portable enough. So that's why I was using my printed planner. I still have my printed planner store, but honestly, I'm like doing myself out of sales, really. I'm just like, please buy my printables to go inside it, or join my Organized Life Club, which have all the printables and things inside. But the mini version, it's just so much easier, isn't it? Okay, so another question now. What's going on with your Patreon and membership? You've mentioned there are going to be changes and things. Yes. Okay, this is the thing that's going on behind the scenes. And if you go to, I'm going to type it in again, Rhiannon Morgan, .com/waitlist. Right, rhiannonmorgan.com/waitlist. There we go. So yes, I've got a new website that is going live, but it's housing all the things. So I am denied about what to do and what to call it, and a bunch of people inside of my membership reminded me that I just remembered, I just wished years ago that I just used my name, because that makes sense. So I've gone and I've set it up as rhiannonmorgan.com. I have got joinre.com as the sort of the top level link that I can use to get people to join my free resources and community, which I'm about to tell you about. Okay, it's going to be so exciting. Anyway, go to rhiannonmorgan.com/waitlist, and I might be able to let a few of you in a little bit early to have a little look, okay, at everything I'm about to share. But basically, it's going to be that shorter website address, and that will take you to the hub of free resources. So, over the years, I've had my Ultimate Mum bundle. I've had printables for like my organization station. I've had printables for when your kids are ill and you need to record their medication. All these different free printables, but they're all kind of dotted all over the internet. And you've got to go to all these different places to get them all. And my 100 signs of ADHD thing, my 100 signs of autism, all the free printables, they're all over the place. I've created one great big super hub, okay? It's a resource. You can log into it. It's all there. It's kind of set up in modules, so it's really easy to go through, and you'll be able to log in and download all the things you need, okay? It's going to be so easy. And then, because also I get people going, oh, I downloaded this a while ago and I can't find it. You'll just get one login and it's free, and you'll be able to access it all. It's going to be amazing. There is also a brand new free community, okay? And like I say, if you go to that link, rhiannonmorgan.com, so that's RHIANNAN morgan.com/waitlist, then I can let you in a little bit early to have a little look at that free community. And it's so exciting because it's going to be somewhere we can hang out. I can share special things with you, and we'll be running free challenges, all these kind of things. It's going to be so exciting. So all of that is coming, but also I'm moving my actual memberships. So if you're already inside of what's currently hosted on my Patreon, don't panic if you don't want to move. No one's going to make you. I'm going to be closing that down to new people joining. But for anyone that really doesn't want to move, then they can stay put. However, there are going to be some really good incentives to move, okay? It's going to be amazing. So I'm building out my memberships on this new platform. It's called Kajabi. That doesn't matter, other than there's now going to be an app called Kajabi. So previously you could download the Patreon app to access both my free and my paid memberships. Now you'll be able to download the Kajabi app to do the same, basically. But it's going to be so much better. The interface is so much better. Again, I'm going to be able to run things so much better. If you're inside of my Organized Life Club and you do things like my planning parties and things, you'll be able to access all those so much better. And also when we do modules like the mealtime routine workshop, for example, or the back to school, then rather than just having the workshop, which we'll still have, there'll also be smaller chunks you can work through. So it's going to be much easier. So if you're thinking, right, I really want to get my mornings organized, rather than just having the workbook and the workshop to work through, you can also have smaller modules. So you can go through and check each one off. It's just going to be amazing, 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 amazing. But one of the things that's burning me out a little bit is that I am having to move everything. So I'm having to move my whole membership, copy everything across, set up all the new website and the web pages, and then the back end of the checkout and how people pay, and then how then they get sent the logins and all that stuff. I'm having to build all that. I'm moving my podcast as well to the same channel. So hopefully you can still access that. Okay, I'm actually struggling to access any new episodes on it, which is a bit worrying because I've moved that already from just where it was hosted before to the new place. So it shouldn't seem any different at all from your end. But at the moment, I think that's a bit glitchy. I'm moving all of my email stuff. So, previously when I've been able to email things to people when they've got freebies or whatever, emailing about videos and things, I'm moving all of that. So there's a huge amount of work. So I've had to totally learn this software from scratch. I am not a web designer by any stretch, but I'm doing my best. I'm doing my darndest. But it was about time. My website hasn't changed for a really long time. My existing website is just going to stay where it is. I think I'm starting from scratch. I'll eventually move everything over. But for now, my old website is staying where it is, and there'll be a hybrid period where there are both. But it's so exciting. Everything that I've got to bring to you in this new membership is so, so exciting. Like I said, there's going to be a forever free membership, forever free resources. And then if you want to join either the Magical Adventures Club, which is all my Disney and travel stuff, or my Organised Life Club, which is all the home stuff, the planning parties, and the testimonials I'm getting from the people that have joined the Organised Life Club recently about the differences it's made in their lives have just been absolutely huge. And people have just, been messaging saying how much their life has completely changed since they've been following the planning parties, and they've been doing that with me once a month, and they just feel more in control, and they're so proud of themselves and how much easier their lives are. So excited to just really up level that. It is a more expensive platform for me to pay for, but it's a far more premium experience I feel that it's going to be for you guys. So I really feel it's really, really worth it. So excited for that. Can't wait to share that with you. My worry has been like rhiannamorgan.com. Have I done the right thing there? So before I launch it, I've got to decide which website address I'm sticking with. rhianmorgan.com was taken. So if there's any other shortened versions. Now I've got organisedlifeclub.com, which I can send people to my Organised Life Club. So I'm just talking about the Organised Life Club. You can go organisedlifeclub.com. I'm not sure if that's live yet. We'll take you straight there. And magicaladventures.com will take you straight there. But the way it's set up, I have to have one then overarching website address. So at the moment I've got rhiannamorgan.com that will be like hosting everything. So all the, when I'm going like rhiannamorgan.com/waitlist. So say, for example, I'm going to set up, like this isn't real one, don't go typing this, but say, for example, I'm going to set up a Christmas thing for you to download. And I'm like, head to website address /Christmas. And the website address is rhiannamorgan.com. Are people really going to struggle to spell that? Because A, it's a Welsh name, and B, it's a Welsh name that my parents decided to spell differently because it's Rhiannon with an AN at the end, not an ON at the end. So it's spelled funny. So will anyone ever find those, or does it not matter because people mostly click things, not type? Cinder says, I think your full name sounds good. I like the idea of using my full name because another one of the questions actually I've not got to yet is, am I still writing my book? Yes, it is very much on the back burner at the moment. I am writing a book about neurosparkly life and the journey going through the assessment processes with the children, and then the things that really make a difference in our lives. And obviously I need people to know who I am if I'm writing a book, because otherwise they'll be like, who is this person? Unless it says Mummy of Four on the front, they won't know who it is. So Cinder says, I think your full name sounds good. I'd like it as well. My only concern is, will people type it wrong and not be able to find it, so that is my only concern. Or I'm going to have to buy 11 billion different domain names and pay for all of those in order to point people at all the different places I want them to go. I don't know what to do. So yeah, just would love you all to weigh in on that. Okay, so next week we are talking about the C word. I know, don't hate me, but people inside my Organised Life Club said that they want to start talking about it. So we're talking next week about things I'm quitting this Christmas. Okay, yes, I know at the moment it's September, next week it's going to be October, but bear with me. And I'd love you to join me for that, because I think there's some stuff that you're going to want to hear. And it's about why I'm starting so early. And it's actually to make it less stressful, not more stressful. So we're going to be talking all about that. And the video that I'm going to put on screen at the end of this live, as soon as YouTube lets me do that, is to answer another question. So that's the strategies you put in place when your child is dysregulated. So I've made a 2-part video series so far. The third part I'm going to film very soon. So the first part is the firefighter technique, and that's what I'm going to link for you guys to watch next as soon as it allows me to do that. The next video that's coming out is the actual strategies to help with children when they're dysregulated. But as I said, that can be used for adults, and in fact, we can use this with ourselves. And the video that's coming after that I'm going to film is actual prevention is better than cure, how to put strategies in place to avoid autism meltdowns in the future. So make sure you have signed up to that waitlist so you can come join me in the new resources area, in the new free community. I can't wait to see you all. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. I'll see you lovely humans very soon.